Welcome to Cosmic Conversations, the podcast where spirituality meets real life. I'm Siobhan, your host, aka the Cosmic Coach, and this is a space where we are going to explore the layers of what make us truly who we are. There's going to be a series of solo episodes along with some incredible guests, a space where we can truly discuss the universe within us all. Hello. It is the last episode, everyone. Oh my god, tear. No, I probably will cry in this episode. No, I won't. Hopefully not. But I can't believe it is the last episode of the season. Oh my god, it has just absolutely flown. I have loved every second of it, and best believe I will be back. Myself and Aileen will be back for season 2. We're already cooking up exciting things. But yeah, this is the last one for now. And to be honest with you, I was like, I kind of knew what I wanted to talk about. So today I'm going to be touching off a few different topics because the real meat of this is going to be a life catch up, okay? It's going to be a life catch up and very much the energy of what's coming in my life at the moment, which is, of course, my spirituality. You guys know I'm always, out in the ethers. I'm always doing something. So I want to fill you guys in on that and some of my perspectives that I've kind of been, figuring out and discovering lately. Before I get into that, I do want to say, while you're here, I would love if you could go over to my Instagram page, Cosmic Conversations Pod, and the cosmiccoach.ie. I have a giveaway running, so make sure you go over and enter it. I'm giving away a free healing and reading combination session. So that's like an 1.5 hour long session. That's gorgeous. I love doing those. And then I'm also giving away a packet of my affirmation cards, which I have been using for all season long for affirmation of the week. So I'm giving away a packet of those. You'll be one of the first people, the winner will be one of the first people to get their hands on that too. So I'm really excited about that. So go over and make sure you enter, and also if you want to head over to the Cosmic Conversations Pod Instagram and let me know, what did you think of the season? What was your favorite episode? What episode did you go back and maybe re-listen to? What would you like me to talk more about, and who would you want me to have on? What do you want me to talk about? Who do you want me to get on? What do you want us to unravel and pick apart together? Because at the end of the day, this is a community and we all come together as a space to explore our spirituality, to talk about the things that matter to us, to talk about the things that maybe aren't spoken about enough, and also to just spark our curiosity and to grow and to learn. So I would love your input in whatever else you'd like me to talk about. The next thing I wanted to mention before I get into my little life update is my program, which I hard launched the other week on Instagram. So my 12-week transformation program, which has been birthed into the world, my new creation, is called the Angelic Self-Love Shift. So funny story with that, guys. Basically, it's a 12-week program where each week we work on different topics like your beliefs, your values, the baseline or kind of the foundations of what self-love is, self-compassion, forgiveness, inner child healing. But each week and each module, there is an archangel that we will be working with, an archangel that we'll be getting to know, learning their different frequencies and energies and how they can support you in that. Because I'll bring it back for a little bit. So when I was building this program, it was just going to be called a self-love shift. And I had it pretty much built. I was starting to write it. I was, channeling a little bit too and going with my intuition. And I remember doing a meditation actually at one of my friend Tara's circles, who you guys know, I talk about her a good bit. I was doing a meditation in one of her circles, and I was just calling in the angels, and I was like, okay, what do you guys think of my program? Is there anything I'm missing? And they were like, yeah, you need to let the angels in. And I was like, okay, yeah, the angels are in, because I was planning on doing every month of the program, doing an angelic meditation and healing for the group. And they were like, no, you need to let them in. They want to be on the program. And I was like, okay, makes sense. So lo and behold, I sat with it, I tuned into it a few times, and they want to be in every single module, okay? The angels are everywhere in my life, and now they want to be in my coaching. But funnily enough, as soon as I was like telling friends about it, and as soon as I actually started to rewrite it, I was like, oh my god, this makes so much more sense. It's an angelic self-love shift. And the reason I call it self-love shift is because I want to help people to shift into their vibration of love, their unique connection to their own source of love. Because you guys know on this podcast we discuss the universe within, but my slogan for my business and the Cosmic Coach is discover the universe within. And that's a massive, massive thing that I'm really passionate about. Like, and I know it does sound a little bit like cliche, but I do really believe that we all have the answers within. Like, you don't need me or another coach or another healer or anyone else to give you the answers and to tell you what to do and to tell you how to live your life. That's not the idea of this program either. The idea of this program is to help you remember that innate connection that you have to your own source of love, your own true love within, that we forget through societal programming and through, you know, experiences that happen to us in life and our belief patterns and all of that. So this program is really, really a passion project, and I've worked so hard in it, and it's going to be coaching you your mindset. Of course, we're going to work on a lot of mindset tools. We're also going to be working on your vibration, your energy, and your spiritual connection to the angels, who are going to help us very much on the 12-week transformation. So if that is something that you're interested about, if you want to talk to me more about it, jump over to my Instagram, shoot me a message, and we can talk a little bit more. Also, with the program, there's no like official set date for when it starts, because when it does start, I'm just going to keep it rolling, and you can join at any kind of point in time. So it doesn't matter what week you join on. Just for a little bit of clarity. So don't worry if you're not pushed to join by a certain date. Let's get into the real talk. So today's episode, I want to talk about femininity. I want to talk about the divine feminine, because the divine feminine energy has very much been coming through to me lately. So, you know, you guys know I love doing my meditations. I'm always with the angels. It's just a part of who I am. I'm always like doing something woo woo, okay? If I'm not having like a cow, I have my feet in the grass. If I don't have my feet in the grass, I'm probably up in the ethers in a meditation or researching something about the ethers. That's just me. But funnily enough, I've always like really been working on my connection with the angels, and a big part, I suppose, for anyone in this kind of world, or even anyone listening, is our purpose. We're always kind of like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What am I here for? Well, I know for me anyways, that's something that I ask myself quite often. So the last while I've really felt, you know, massive part of my purpose is helping people to rediscover their own true gifts, their own true essence, and their own true love within. So that's been a massive, massive driving factor for me. However, lately it's really come into my awareness, or I should say my consciousness, of kind of the divine feminine energy. So I want to talk a little bit about what divine feminine is, because it's something else that I feel is quite connected to my purpose. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean, Siobhan? Because we all have a feminine and a masculine energy. So I'm going to go into it a little bit more. So the divine feminine energy, it's not about gender, okay? Like I said, we all have a feminine and a masculine energy. Men, women, theys, them, okay? But often, like, let's be real, we live in a very masculine world, okay? So often the feminine energy is neglected, brushed aside, and suppressed. So even if you look at our typical working day, okay, 9 to 5, that goes off of a man's cycle or circadian rhythm, okay? So women, we have a 28-day cycle. Men have a 24-hour cycle. So that working day alone suits the men best. Whereas women, we would love to take a week off, maybe have a little bit of a slower week, then we'll have like a good maybe week and a half, 2 weeks where we're going at it, and then again back to our slower week and our week off. So unfortunately, that's not the way the world is. And that's not just at work, it infiltrates into everything. You know, I feel like women in society, they're expected to, well, again with work, like they're expected to be, you know, home bearers, raise the children, keep a good home, cook and clean, but then also have a really good job. And there's so much, and without getting too much into like feminism, because I think it is very much a feminist topic or debate as well, maybe I will touch on that in season 2. But there's just so much in this world that, girls, it's a man's world. Oh my god, Aideen, cut that. It is a man's world though, it is a man's world. In terms of, it's all just programmed and scripted and just narrated to suit a man. And that's just how it is. But with our femininity, it's all so different. Femininity is about nurturing, it's about receiving, it's about rest, it's about intuition. Intuition is something that we're told and taught not to listen to in the society, by the way. Like, why aren't we taught how to tune into our gut in school? Why don't they teach you how to tune into your gut? Does this feel good to you or no? Does this make you feel happy or sad? Like, no, we're not taught that. We're just told to obey the rules and don't object. And if you do object, you're punished. That's literally what you're taught in school. So, anyways, back to my point. The divine feminine. Like I said, the key qualities are nurturing and compassion, deeply caring for yourself and others on the earth. Femininity is, your intuition, receiving, being able to trust your inner guidance and listen before you act. Okay? Listen to your gut before you act. That's a big one. Creative and expressive. Yeah, so your creation, your life force energy is in your sacral, and your sacral is where your femininity is, your divine femininity is. And so that's where everything comes into reality. Ideas you have, thoughts, children, of course, birthing life into the world, new way of life. Everything comes from this feminine center, okay? And then, of course, you have the cycle and the nature kind of rooted aspect of it, honoring your natural rhythms, the moon cycle, the seasons, which we talked about in the main episode, and your own emotional tides. So your femininity essentially is, we all, like I said, we all have it. Of course, men don't have a cycle, but they still do have feminine energy, and we can all tap into that. And again, that's another thing too. Like, I'm not sitting here like as a man hater. Like, I think it's really, really hard. And I actually only said the other day to my mom, like, it's really, I think it is getting better, but it's hard for men to show their femininity. Like, and this is so interesting that this is coming up actually, because I was talking again to my friend Tara. We have some great chats, okay? About the divine feminine. And I was like, we were talking about the wounded feminine and how, the wounded feminine shows up as like judging others, bitching about other women, tearing other women down, seeing other women as competition. Like, you need to view other women as your invitation and not your enemy, your invitation to grow. If you see something in another woman that triggers you, or maybe you're jealous by, take that as inspiration. There's a part of you that wants to be seen or honored or heard or spoken about. So look at her and be like, wow, how can I adapt that? How can I bring that into my life? Because if you're rushing straight to judgment, you best believe it's a part of you that's hiding, or part of you that needs to be looked at. So viewing other women as your invitation is what I will say. But as I said, there's so much like wounded feminine energy out there. We're all wounded, okay? We all have wounds. And sometimes, it's the subconscious wounds that are the hard ones, because we don't realize the pattern. We don't realize the wound itself. So myself and Tara were just talking about that, that you have things like, daddy issues, or girls who go for toxic men, or girls who just go for partners who they know are in relationships, or, this is all kind of wounded feminine energy, okay? But there is a wounded masculine too, okay? And I was talking to Tara about this, and back to that kind of whole feminine energy that I was talking about. It's harder for men to express their feminine energy, and they have it. Like, the way women have a masculine energy, men have their femininity, and that's their emotions. They have an intuition too. Like, my partner is so intuitive. My brother is so intuitive. But it's like, men are told they have to be a man. They have to stand up and they have to lead. And I was driving the other day and I was voice noting, and I was like saying like how the wounded masculine, like, if you just have to look at the suicide rates and see that like most people that are dying by suicide are men. Because that wounded masculine energy, men are told you have to be a leader, you have to provide, you have to speak up, and you have to stand up. When they do speak up and they do stand up, they're told that they're far left, far right, they're uneducated, they're aggressive, or whatever it might be. Like, men are labelled, or then they're labelled on the other end of, oh, he's too soft, he's a nonce, whatever it might be. So it's like, in that sense, they can't win either. And I don't know why, I just feel the strong sense of like, men are kind of, there is that wounded feminine, or there is that wounded energy for men too. So that was something that we were talking about the other day. And I just thought I don't know why that kind of came through there, but I just wanted to address that there's obviously both. But yeah, what I was saying was, it's harder for men to express, well, I think stereotypically it's harder for men. but not in the sense of the people that are around. It's just a societal thing. Because I know for me personally, if I see or witness a man in his emotions, or listening to his intuition, or expressing his creativity, I love that, and I support that, and that's a man to me. Like, that is a real man that can express himself and can be emotional and isn't afraid to be vulnerable. But you know, like I said, we all have our wounds, and we all have our parts of us that don't want to be seen. And so with the divine feminine comes that. And when we reclaim our divine feminine energy, I will probably do an episode on masculine and feminine energy, because I know there's a lot there, and you're probably like, oh, whoa, slow down, let me jump back on the bus. And so maybe I'll do an in-depth episode on that next season. But touching back more into the femininity, when we reclaim our divine feminine energies, when I'd say divine, our divine is our connection to source, our connection, you know, our soul connection, okay? And not everyone in this lifetime will connect to their divine feminine or masculine energy. That's okay. We don't have to. I don't even think I'm fully connected to my divine feminine, if I'm being real with you guys, okay? I don't. There's still parts of me that need to be looked at, you know? But when we connect to it, we reclaim ancient parts of us and ourselves that have been suppressed, wisdom that has been pushed down, and gifts that have been hidden. So when we allow ourselves to tap into that, we reclaim it all. And we often hear about like generational trauma, ancestral trauma, all of these, you know, difficult things we got to work through and grow through. But there's also incredible wisdom and gifts from our ancestors. And that's what you can reclaim through working on your feminine energy and connecting with your true divine essence. And tying it back into why I even started talking about this, so that is why I'm starting to realize, or maybe beginning to realize, that I think that's why I'm here. And as in part of my mission is to help women remember their true essence, their divine feminine energy, their true essence of love. Maybe masculine too, I don't know. I feel like I'm not well versed on that. I feel like I can feel parts of me as I'm talking about this being like, oh my god, like, you don't say that you're going to offend someone. I'm like, no, I gotta be authentic, I gotta be me. I'm never here out of a place to offend anyone. I think you guys know that by now. My intentions are pure. But yeah, so this means for me, you know, not only embracing my softness and my intuition, but also stepping into the strength that comes from the deep feminine wisdom. And so that is me doing this right now on this podcast. So I got a reading as well the other week off a lady called Kira's Calling on Instagram. She was phenomenal. And she told me she gave me a gorgeous healing. Sorry, I don't know if I said reading there, it was healing. Where she actually channeled Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene came through, and Mary Magdalene is a part of the Rose lineage. So maybe you need to bring it back a few steps. So in helping me to connect with my divine feminine energy, there's this thing called the Rose lineage, okay? So the Rose lineage is considered an ancient spiritual tradition that weaves together mystical teachings of divine feminine energies all across different cultures and timelines, okay? It's often associated with Mary Magdalene and the women who carried the Christ consciousness. So Christ, or Yeshua, who his actual name was, which is Jesus Christ. But the roots of the Rose lineage go even deeper than that. They go back to like ancient Egypt. When you think of goddess Isis, there was also goddess Sophia, Kuan Yin. There's so many different ascended masters and goddesses that are part of or connected to this Rose lineage. And the Rose lineage is essentially symbolic because they brought the divine feminine codes and light codes to earth, okay? And it is believed that goddess Sophia birthed the divine feminine, and then I think Mary Magdalene drove it. But they were all a part of it in some way, shape, or form. I could be a little bit incorrect in some of that information, but that's just my understanding so far. And I suppose the symbol of the rose is like the different layers of it symbolize different parts of awakening. So sorry, when we think of the rose, okay, the rose and the rose lineage is often associated with our womb center. So that's obviously our creation center, and the different petals and layers of it kind of symbolize the different levels of awakening and raising your consciousness and blooming is what I feel. It's also connected to your sacred sexual energy and union. So the rose has long represented the womb and creation, sensuality, and the divine union of the masculine and feminine energy. So of course, when we have the masculine and the feminine, that is divine union. The rose lineage is here to do a heart-centered service. So the rose carries a vibration of unconditional love and compassion, much like the teachings of Mary Magdalene and the other goddesses and priestesses that I mentioned. So essentially, this rose lineage holds the light codes and spiritual frequencies and wisdom to awaken deeper remembrance of your soul's mission. Sound like you want to join? Join us. It sounds like a freaking cult now. It's not a cult, I swear. So essentially, I was told in this healing that I had with Kira's calling that I'm a part of this rose lineage, or I'm my ancestors or something were part of the rose lineage. I think I don't know. Basically, I'm a part of it, and part of my mission is to bring the light codes to Earth. So I was like, interesting stuff. And I suppose that's when, you know, I felt Mary Magdalene come through in the gorgeous healing that I had from her. I always feel Mary Magdalene as this gorgeous, deep, red, sensual, like really embodied energy. And I don't know how to describe it. It's like she's so unapologetically herself. And, you know, Mary Magdalene, I really, really adore her. Like she, in her lifetime, you know, I think I spoke about it in the last week's episode of Kira, that she was Jesus Christ or Yeshua's partner. So she was his divine masculine and he was the divine feminine. They together were the divine union. And Mary Magdalene, you know, as we know in the church, they kind of flipped the script and they labeled her as a whore, a prostitute. They shamed her, and she was basically just disregarded as nothing. When in actual fact, she was behind Yeshua and she was helping him to drive this Christ consciousness onto the planet, and she was the divine feminine. She was also going around teaching and healing and bringing women together and having circles and all of these things that are suppressed and taken away because they don't want us to know. They don't want us to know. So I have a lot of respect and appreciation for Mary Magdalene just for that understanding alone. So when she came through for me in that healing, it really just kind of affirmed that beautiful message that I had received within the healing, that I'm part of this lineage. And, you know, she kind of just spoke to me, and she was just, again, so embodied. I can't describe it. Like, she was beautiful and so embodied and just so wise is what I felt. And she did a lot of work on my throat chakra. Ironically, here I am exercising said chakra. So I suppose that's why I'm here today talking about her. And then as well, Goddess Isis. So Goddess Isis was another goddess that I mentioned. I've also experienced her in the last few weeks. I've never intentionally sat down and connected with Goddess Isis. I've been aware of her, but I just never really felt or worked with her energies until the other day. She just randomly came through for me. So some of you know, myself and my friend Sirius, we do monthly moon circles, and the one most recent in August, for whenever you're listening to this, we did a gorgeous meditation. I actually brought in Goddess Sophia. We did a gorgeous meditation and healing. I was using my light language, okay? Light language, I spoke about in last week's episode with Kira, is, again, essentially your soul's language, okay? Is the language of our galactic families. And so I've been really channeling and tuning into that the last while, and I was going around the circle and I was doing some hands-on healing and I was channeling my light language. So I sat down after I did that on the mat. Seriously started the sound bath and I was like, oh my god, heart racing, feeling very human. I was like, what the hell did I just do? I look crazy. Like, oh my god, these people are gonna think I'm mad. So I lay down, closed my eyes, and just went on the journey of the sound bath, and straight away Goddess Isis came in, and her gorgeous image and her face was just like there, and I didn't actually know who it was straight away. I was like, who is this? She had like her headdress on. If you go and look up an image of Goddess Isis, you'll know what I'm talking about. But she had a gorgeous headdress on, and she came through as real deep reds and blues. So when I seen her, I was like, is that Goddess Isis? So as I said that, the image got stronger in my mind. So I was like, right, okay, it must be Goddess Isis. So I was like, interesting. I've used my light language. I've connected to Mary Magdalene. I'm going around doing some hands-on healing. It's a women's full moon circle we don't advertise it for women only, but women only just come. And then another goddess is coming through from this lineage. So I'm like, okay, interesting. So I think she's just coming forward to work with me again, helping me drive these light codes to Earth. And then again, oh my God, I have so much to focus in on, because there's also goddess Sophia, who I mentioned I did the meditation and healing with for that circle. I got attuned to Sophia as part of the level 3 that I'm doing for my angelic energy healing with Debbie Boyle, for those of you who know her. And when I got attuned to Sophia, it was the most tangible and profound attunement I'd ever had. I was feeling like full body sensations. I was getting chills. I think parts of my body were vibrating. It was like, oh my God, so intense. Again, Sophia's image was probably one of the strongest images I've ever had in my mind. I'm not sure why, but the goddesses, or the rose lineage, like Mary Magdalene, Goddess Isis, Goddess Sophia, even Mother Mary, they all appear more vividly or stronger in my mind's eye than angels or archangels. And I know angels and archangels don't look how we perceive them to look, so maybe that's why. But I just find lately that the goddesses just, they look more vivid. And so Sophia, as I said, I've been attuned to her, working with her energies, and that's been beautiful, and I'm so grateful. And yeah, another story I want to tell you is, oh my God, so another kind of affirmation, or not affirmation, validation or confirmation of this rose lineage was, I was at another meditation with my friend Tara, and I keep saying my friend Tara, I just need to say Tara, because you guys know Tara, she's my friend as well. We're all friends here. So I was at Tara's circle, did a meditation, and this woman came through in the meditation. Okay, this woman, I don't know who she is. As I was mentioning all the goddesses there that I was talking about, I don't know who this woman is, but she basically came through to me. Okay, and she was like this older woman. She looked Native American. Okay, and she had this long grey hair and a plait, and she just appeared in front of me and was like saying hello, and I was like, hi, and she was like, you need to start like, yeah, being more authentic. You need to start speaking your truth more. You need to start speaking your light codes and bringing like this feminine energy into the world. And I was like, okay. And she was like, the way she was talking, I don't want to like do how she was talking, because I don't want anyone to think I'm taking a certain culture off, because I'm not. But how she was talking just was not like, she didn't have an Irish accent, but she was just basically, she was like, you need to like speak your words, child. You need to bring this into the world. Like, you need to, that's stuff that you need to be writing down, like your poems, your journaling that you write down, you need to bring that into the world. So I was like, okay, I'm a little bit scared. And I did that actually for my miscarriage episode. I shared my journal entry, and that was vulnerable, but I enjoyed it, and I got lovely feedback. So I was like, okay, I need to share more of my journal entries, which I will do in this episode. So that's what she said to me. And then straight after I met her, oh my God, the Pleiadians came and took me. And when I say they took me out of my body so quick, when I came out of this meditation, you can ask Tara, I was shaking. Like, my hands were shaking. I was like, oh my God, I've never been taken that quick. Like, I never just went that deep before in my life. But the Pleiadians came and took me after I had that conversation with that lady. Brought me all the way up to Pleiades, where I was surrounded by them. They were absolutely beautiful, like stars all over their bodies. And I was like, it was so funny, because I was looking at them and I was like, you guys are so beautiful. And they were so blue and radiating, and they were doing so much, like they were talking like language in my ears, and they were activating things in my throat, and I was just like, you're so beautiful. And then one of them like told me like to look down at myself, and when I looked down, I looked exactly like one of them, and I was like, I'm beautiful. And there, it was kind of like this funny like catch-22 moment. I was like, oh my God, I'm one of you, of course, I'm one of you guys as well. So that was really, really interesting. And again, it was just so profound. And then I came back into the room after the meditation. Hands were shaking. I really, really had to ground after that. And I was like, right, this divine feminine stuff is coming through. And I remember myself and Tara having a conversation after, and I was filling her in on my meditation. I was like, oh my God, I met this lady. By the way, the lady that I met, I asked her name, and she said something along the lines of like Marilena or Marlene or Marlene. She said, I'm the ancient one. And I was like, okay, so if anyone knows what that means, please text me. Tell me if you've met this lady before. But that's all I got from her. And she walked away as quick as I could, then the Pleiadians came. But I was filling Tara in. And my hands were literally shaking, and Tara's like, oh my God. And then she was filling me in on, downloads that she had recently. And we were standing here having this conversation. And then I was like, oh my God. And she was like, oh my God. And we were like, something's happening. There's like the rise of the rose or something going on. We both basically were like aligning to like this energy of this rose lineage. We're like, what's happening? Like, what are they calling us to? What's going on? And Tara is very passionate about the divine feminine energy. And yeah, we had this, like, if anyone was in the room with our conversations, this is why you need to have friends, especially if you're going through a spiritual awakening. You need to have woo-woo friends, okay? You need to have people you can talk to about this stuff, because I can literally ring that girl and tell her anything and she'd be like, yep, cool, I'm with you. Let's unpack this together. So that's just the kind of friendship we have. And we had a gorgeous conversation about, the rose lineage, and just really connected over it. And kind of since then, it has just been in my life, hence this podcast episode, which is probably a little bit chaotic for you to listen to, and I'm sorry if it is. But as well, actually, that older Native American woman that I met in that meditation, she actually came in after I used my light language for the first time, when Isis came through in the moon circle, if you're still with me. She came through to me again and said, you did it. She's like, you did it, yay. And she was like celebrating me, and I was like, yeah, oh my God, is this what you wanted me to do? And I think she was happy with me. Again, she was gone as quick as I could even grasp that she was there. She must be in a rush. She must be going around to loads of us. But yeah, anyways, I'm really building and working and learning and developing this connection to femininity, and more specifically the divine feminine energy. So yeah, anyone listening who maybe is just feels curious or drawn to or pulled by, or like a kind of a connection to this that I'm talking about, then maybe you'll know, and you'll feel maybe through wherever you're listening to, that there's just something to this. And I'm still not really sure what it is, but I just know that I have to do it, and then I have to bring this into my work. And so I want to actually share a journal entry that I wrote after a meditation, when I had to consider what is a rose to me. So if you think about rose and rose lineage, this is kind of what came to my mind. So this is a message for my women of the rose lineage. What do I think of when I think of a rose? I think beautiful, captivating, soft and rare, protected by thorns, which are boundaries, lessons, rising from the dirt, shining for anyone to see, and still shining for those who choose not to. A rose, rising, divine remembrance. This rose is within. This rose has rose. So that's what I wrote. This rose has rose. I know. I don't really know. I don't know. But anyways, that's what I wrote. And when I think of a rose, we had to write down what we think of when we think of rose. And that's kind of what came true to me, obviously, for all this rose lineage stuff. Take a shot every time I say rose. So as you can imagine, I'm having all these freaking downloads. I'm remembering this connection to the rose lineage. I'm remembering galactic families. I had a cosmic diamond healing with Kira Ashwell the other night, where I met my galactic family. There is so much going on right now, and so many downloads. I feel, and I was told, I'm a member of the Pleiadian High Council. I've had many lifetimes in Lemuria and Andromeda and all of these different places, and I'm like, wow. And fully enough, as I'm sitting here recording this episode, and for today, I've just felt like, for today, I just want to be human, because it's a lot. And like, even as I'm talking about this episode and going through everything, and I just want to like remind anyone listening to, like, that like we need to be human. And what I say about that is, like, there's, we can have our spirituality and we can have our beliefs, and sometimes it can almost trick you into feeling like, oh, if I'm spiritual, I'm always love and light, and if I'm spiritual, I'm always accepting, and if I'm spiritual, I'm always tolerant, and if I'm spiritual, I'm always calm. And that's just not true. And so today I just really felt like I need to be human. I needed to have a rant, I needed to have a moan, and I needed to just get that out. And funnily enough, the other day I seen so I was going to physio, and my physiotherapist had a tattoo on his arm, And I was like, oh, what's your tattoo? And he said, oh, it says memento mori. And I was like, what does that mean? And he was like, memento mori. So essentially, memento mori means remember you're mortal. And it's something that they used to tell the Roman soldiers. So when the Roman soldiers, just a little bit of lore here for you, is when the Roman soldiers would go and like fight in wars around the world, and they'd come back into, you know, past a certain line into Rome, they weren't allowed to be called by their title. They weren't allowed to be called a general or whatever they were, because in their hometown they were just them. However, if they won a big battle, they were allowed to come back and wear their armor and be called by their title. However, when they would walk around the streets, they would have like a slave or a servant behind them whispering into the ear, memento mori, remember you are mortal. Essentially saying you are not above anyone else, you were not better than anyone else, and you were simply human too. And so when he told me that the other day, I was like, huh, thank you, universe, thank you, angels, and thank you, guides, because I was like, I think I needed to hear that. Like, remember, you're human. And funnily enough, I'm talking about all this divine feminine. I mentioned the divine masculine. I'm talking about my Pleiadian family. I'm not even really sure what this episode is going to be called because it's so all over the place. But what I do know is that we can be divine human, okay? We don't have to be divine anything all the time. We can still have our days where we just want to give out. We can still have our days where we're off. And if you feel like you're on a spiritual awakening or journey, you know, that is so normal. That's going to happen. I am not always love and light. I'm not always up in the ethers. Sometimes I don't want to be in the ethers like today. And it's so mad to say that because when I'm in the ethers, I'm like, I never want to leave. It's so peaceful and beautiful here. But then when I'm here, I'm like, oh my God. And that saying memento mori just really reminded me of that being human is a privilege and being here is a privilege, and it's okay to be human. Remember you're mortal. You are not above anyone else. And that was kind of reiterated for me as well the other night when I was with my galactic family. I remember looking at all of these starseeds and I was like, you guys are incredible. Like, some of them have like multiple eyes and so many colors and so tall, and they just look like how you think they'd look. And I remember I was in, you know, wherever they took me, and I was like, you guys are just so incredible. You're so amazing. And they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They're like, the human body is amazing. And I remember they showed me like an image of human body, like, and they were like, this body is incredible. This body is so intelligent. And they were like, you, and they showed me like I was an aspect of the universe, because when I was looking down, my hands were like just stars. It was incredible. But I was looking at myself and I was like, oh my God, I'm just the universe experiencing itself. And they were like, they're like, and you chose to come into a human body, which is also incredible. And it reminded me that like being human, like, we have the privilege of being on this earth. We have the privilege of connecting with Mother Earth. We have, like, Mother Earth holds codes and frequencies that we cannot get out in the ethers, okay? Just simply connecting with her, with Gaia, she alone can heal us. Like, if you even think about just connecting to the earth, and you'll hear people and spiritual teachers and, you know, people saying all the time, give Mother Earth your worries, give her your struggles, give her your negative energy. She'll take it and she knows what to do with it. And it's so true. Mother Earth is so grounding and she's so nourishing, and we can't connect with her unless we're human, or animals, of course. But it was just a really lovely reminder. I was like, it's so true. Human beings are so powerful, and again, we can be human and still access and awaken our gifts and our connection to our divine feminine, our divine masculine, our galactic families, our soul remembrance, whatever it is, whatever part of your journey you feel like you're on. Maybe you just feel like you're just getting to know the angels right now, and that's okay. Whatever part of you is awakening and learning right now, you get to do all that and be human, and that's a privilege, and that's what I'm being reminded of right now. And as well, it also really reminded me, you know, that memento mori, which is coming back into my mind, is that like we're all mortal. And I want to really reiterate, you know, I would never want anyone to look at me and think, oh my God, she's so spiritual, she's so tapped in, and she's so clued in. Yes, I'm spiritual, but again, like I said, I'm human. And I often had this habit of looking at like other people in the spiritual community, and I'm like, oh my God, they're so gifted, they're so incredible, they're so amazing. I want to be there. I want to be at that level. And it's like, first of all, no one is above anyone. We're all human beings and we all have the same capabilities, okay? You listening have the same capabilities as I, has the same capabilities of anyone else out there who's a healer. we're all equal. We just all choose to develop at different times. Some of us never choose to develop. Some of us have, you know, we're essentially like more clued in certain areas. Maybe some of us may be like better like hands-on healing. Some of us may really focus on our light language. Others may really focus on just their earthly connection, whatever it might be. We're all different, but we all have the same access, the same gifts. And it was really coming to me today, like, to remind myself of that, because again, I was putting other people, you know, in industry and around me on a pedestal. And I was like, oh my God, like these people are just, I'll never be there. Almost feeling like I do a lot of energy exchanges with other healers, and I'm so grateful. And I was having moments where I was like, oh my God, I feel bad. Like they're doing a healing for me and I'm going to do healing for them, and my healing's going to be shit compared to their healing. And I had to be like, hang on a second, Siobhan, like, no, we're all equal. We all have to learn, we all have to grow. I know, like, I have to stand in my truth, and I have to stand in the fact that I know what I'm doing is coming from a place of love, is coming from a place of myself and the client. It's coming from a place of myself and the client's highest good. And that's all I can do. And how could I put someone on a pedestal? How could I put myself on a pedestal when we're all just equal and we're all just here helping each other to remember our own unique connection? And that's what you do as a healer. You don't stand there and heal someone else, or online, or whoever you facilitate it. You're not there healing anyone else. You're simply there to help them and hold space for them to heal themselves and to connect with their own guides and their own angels. And that's like really just coming to me again. I'm like, yeah, it's like a real full circle moment of like, we're all just equal. And you know, oh my God, I swear to God, as I'm recording this episode and I'm sitting here, right, I just had a moment, I just paused to myself, asking, and I'm like, this episode is shit. People are going like, what the hell is she talking about? And I swear to God, a woman has just walked past me, and guess what word is on the back of her t-shirt? Cosmic. I wish I got a picture of it. Actually, that'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it? Thank you, universe, for again affirming. What I'm talking about is someone is going to listen and be like, yeah, I get you, I hear you, I feel you. And yeah, what I'll say is, you know, I never want to like fearmonger or scare anyone, because I like this spiritual community and this journey that I'm on, and my job, essentially my passion, has led me to some of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life. Like Tara, who I mentioned all the time, has become one of my best friends. Like I never would have met her if I was not following this path. So many of you, too many for me to sit here and mention, but you know who you are, and I'm so grateful for you all. I would never would have met these people without following this path and following my heart, and following this remembrance. But what I will say is, like every community, it's not always love and light. And what I'll say is, unfortunately, you know, there is people who are maybe in this industry or spiritual, myself included, who have moments or days where they're actually acting from ego and not from their spirituality or not from their highest self. The reason I say that is because, again, I'm just being reminded, like, even, for example, when I hold space at our moon circles, like, I know as I sit there that that's not about me. Like, although it's wonderful for me to hear, like, wow, Siobhan, you're so gifted. Like, I really love, like, when you said this, or I love how clued in you are, or how connected you are. And, like, come on, my ego loves that, okay? We all have an ego. But that's not why I'm there. Like, I'm not sitting here to be like, oh, by the way, I can see your aura, or by the way, this is what I'm picking up for you, or this is what I think the card says, or this loved one's coming through. I'm not there to show off. I'm there to help you remember your connection, to help you remember the essence of yourself and discover your own universe within. Discover that you can do that too. Discover that you can heal. Discover that you can, you know, hold the codes of deep love and remembrance. Discover your own divine feminine. Discover whatever it is that you're meant to discover in this life. I'm simply just holding space for you to do that. And that's what I'm remembering. And so I'm really conscious of the fact of, you know, and especially if you're anyone else who's listening and you go to like other healers or mystics or priestesses or circles, whatever it is, that person is not there to show how great they are. That person is there to help you remember how great you are. And just trust your gut and trust your discernment with that. And that is all I will say, because again, I'm not fear mongering. I love this community. I have so much love for this community. There's incredible people out there. And look, I'm probably going to turn around in a few weeks or months time and be like, guys, actually, I think that I've been looking at this from an ego perspective or whatever it is. And I'm always open for that. Like, I'm always open for someone being like, Siobhan, I think that was ego, or I think that was maybe like whatever it is. The reason I'm saying that is because I'm just being reminded of the fact that I'm not there to be like, this is what my guides are, saying, or I'm picking up that there's an ancestor or a grandmother with you, or I'm not there to show off, okay? I'm there to simply hold space. And that is the role of all healers in this space and should be. And that's all I'll say on that. So, I feel like I have really been yappa, and I really want to share before I go again what I have learned since having this podcast. And I mentioned the spiritual community and the people I've met, but oh my god, the people I've met through this podcast. First of all, anyone listening, whether this is your first episode or you've been with me every step of the way, from the bottom of my heart, biggest and deepest and most sincere thank you. Like, genuinely thank you. Like, you have taken time, an hour out of your precious day. Like, your time is so valuable and I value your time, and you've taken your time to listen to me and to spend time with me here on Cosmic Conversations. And that alone is like, whoa. Like, even thinking of one person doing that, I'm like, oh my god, they wanted to listen to me talk for an hour. And there's a lot more than one of you, so thank you so much. And thank you for being here. And through all of the lovely messages and comments and things that people have been saying to me, is I'm really being reminded that we need this. Like, we need a space where we can come together and talk about our woo-woo stuff, talk about our spirituality, talk about our connection, talk about the angels and the signs that we receive, and everything. Because you wouldn't believe the amount of people that message me throughout this journey being like, Siobhan, I love your podcast, or I love talking to you, because I feel like if I said this to my own friends or my own family, they'd look at me like I'm crazy. Look, I'm crazy enough for us all, okay? So I'll wear that hat, okay? I'll take that hat and I'll wear it with pride. But it really like showed me, like, we need this space. Like, people are craving this. People need that spiritual guidance, and that space where they can come and be like, oh my god, it's normal for me to feel this way. It's normal for me to be like, oh my god, these feathers are a sign. It's normal for me to be like, oh my god, that blue car, it's a sign for X, Y, and Z. Because, like, we need that. It's affirming our own intuition. It's affirming our connection. It's validating. This space is validating that you are not alone in how you feel and how you think, and that it is accepted and worshipped and held here in this space of Cosmic Conversations. So essentially, hosting this podcast has really deepened and strengthened my why into doing this. And like I said at the start of the episode, we are planning some amazing things. We are only planning to grow and get deeper, and I'm going to drop a little sneak peek, or a little hint. Not even a hint, I'm just going to hard launch. We're going to have a membership next season, and it's going to be a space where there's going to be additional podcasts every month. So of course this will have the weekly episode, but I want to have a membership where we'll have an additional I think 2 to 3 episodes are planning each month, and those ones are going to go deeper. Okay, you guys think I'm deep on this one? Wait until I have some of the experiences and things I want to share that is going to have to be behind a platform where I feel like the people coming really are open to it and want to hear it. And so that's something that we're planning, a little Cosmic Conversations community for season 2. And again, just reminding me of my why, because people are craving this. We need each other, we need support, we need community, and we need to be reminded that we're not alone. So if you've made it this far, I just want to remind you that oh my god, there's been so much in this episode. I'm learning and developing my purpose and my connection and why I'm here. I'm also embodying my divine self and also my divine human, okay? We're all divine human, and maybe that's the title of this episode, okay? Divine human. There has to be a balance between two and being able to embody the both. And I encourage you, while you're on this spiritual path, to be human too, to have compassion and go easy on yourself, is what I'll say. So for this week's Cosmic Confession, which is going to be the last one for a while, we actually had a voice note. So I can't play it because, it's anonymous. But essentially the voice note was from someone saying that they just had so much anger and so much rage and so much, again, they were just feeling triggered that they weren't being calm enough, feeling triggered that they weren't being feminine enough, and feeling triggered that they weren't really embodying, their spiritual self, or that they weren't embodying or embracing what they were preaching to be. And so we had this lovely conversation about it, and I was like, this needs to be the Cosmic Confession, because again, kind of like what I said in this episode, like, reminding us that we're just human, but also reminding us that, like, if we think back to like why we came here, yes, okay, maybe we came here because we had a unique purpose. Maybe your purpose is to work with animals. Maybe your purpose is to work with children. Maybe your purpose is to work with the community. Whatever your purpose is, you know, that is your unique purpose and your unique gift and your unique vibration. And we're all responsible for getting to know ourselves on a deeper level and just being a good human, okay? And so all of our purposes look different. But within that purpose, we also chose to be human. So we came here, we were like, I'm going to bring my purpose to earth. I'm going to bring all these codes and these frequencies. And I'm going to be bringing the light language and the divine feminine. And I'm going to help people remember that they can love themselves and all of this. But also, I chose to be human. So today I'm going to be angry. Tomorrow I'm going to be pissed off. The next day I'm going to be sad about something, or my ego is going to be bruised, or my ego is going to be validated. And these are all just little things that I'm like, yes, we came here. We can be spiritual. We can remember our connection. We can remember, you know, our soul's purpose, our soul's mission, all of these things, again, that are such a hot topic online, but we can also remember to be human. And that's kind of what the conversation went like with this person, is that, like, but you're human. Like, you came here to feel and have a human experience. One of those is having rage and being pissed off and being annoyed, and we can't be love and light all the time. If we were love and light all the time, we would be suppressing. And when you suppress, that's when it builds, and that's when it comes out in a nasty way. And unfortunately, suppressing emotions too can also lead to other things like mental health disorders. So yeah, it was just a really awakening and eye-opening conversation, and it really tied into and connected with the message of today's podcast episode. So for anyone listening who maybe relates, maybe feels like, you know, I'm not practicing what I preach, or I feel like, you know, sometimes you can just feel like an imposter, and I get that. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, I'm not practicing what I preach. If someone went to listen to my podcast right now, they'd be like, Jesus, she's wonderful. She must have all her emotions regulated, and she's just up in the astrals and just connecting with the angels. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes, but not all the time. Like, for real, not all the time. So yeah, your cosmic confession segment for this week is to remember that you're doing the best that you can, and that you're human. You're cosmic, you're fucking divine, but you're also human. So for this week's affirmation of the week, the last one again, and by the way, my affirmation cards are like on sale, so if you want to buy some, I channeled and wrote these, and some of them I took inspiration, you know, from elsewhere, but yeah, they're my affirmation card deck. 44 cards, come on, 44 is my number. So if you want to buy some, head over to my page. But this week's one is, I am growing and going at my own pace. I'm not sure if we've had that one already, but if we have, let's just take it as divine guidance. And I love this one. Like, it's just such a nice reminder. I am growing and going at my own pace. Remembering that comparison is the thief of joy, okay? Comparing ourselves to anyone else's journey, anyone else's awakening, anyone else's progression, maybe someone else's life, maybe someone else is having kids, or people are getting married or buying houses, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not. You are growing and going at your own pace. And sometimes that can be a hard one, to be like, oh, but my pace is, can we pick it up? Can we pick up the pace? And I get that, I do. I get that sense of urgency. But unfortunately, you know, what is it that saying is coming to my head is like, something like worrying is worshipping the problem, or something like that. Like, if you worry or doubt or don't trust in your path and your divine timeline, then you're doubting the seeds that you've sown. You're doubting yourself, and you're doubting everything. And what happens is we put that out there, and we can get lost, and then we almost like fall off the path because we don't trust it in the first place. And then, you know, we're making decisions from a place of lack and feeling like we're not caught up, and then maybe we rush into things because we feel like, oh, I have to do this, or I should be at this point in my life, or I should be doing this, or I should feel this, or I should know this, or whatever it might be. And we rush ourselves, and we forget to just trust in the pace of our own path. And sometimes that might feel like we're going a few steps back on our path, or maybe there's a block in the road. What I will say is, if something feels like it is in the way of your path, if something feels like it is blocking your path or an obstruction in your path right now, it is part of your path, and it is there to show you and teach you something. And remembering that rejection is redirection with this one. Thank you for tuning into Cosmic Conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, then please let me know. Maybe consider leaving a 5-star review or a comment on what you thought. I'd love to hear suggestions and feedback on any topics you'd like me to explore or unpack, or maybe a guest that you'd like me to have on so I can pick their brain. If you have a cosmic confession or a dilemma that you'd like me to explore next week, then please send it my way on Instagram at cosmicconversationspod or email thecosmiccoach.ie@gmail.com. Thank you and see you next week.